More from our favorite Sheikh and his Heartwheel Journal.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Muhammad AlShareef with the Heartwheel Journal, coming to you day by day at Iftar time as we follow along in these charts in the Heartwheel Journal, writing down that which we've done for the day, what we're planning to do the next day in our good deeds, measuring on a scale of 0 to 10 how we did, and then comparing it how we're progressing or whether we're getting weaker or stronger during the month of Ramadan, and dealing with it as it comes up. There's one of the features of the Heartwheel Journal called Model Those Who Were Successful. In life, when a person wants to achieve something, wants to do something, one of the smartest things that they could do is go to someone who's already achieved what they're looking for. So let's say, for example, you wanted to open up an Islamic school, a very professional Islamic school. You would go to someone who has already opened such a professional Islamic school, maybe in a different country, maybe somewhere around the world, but you go to them and you ask them specific questions on how did they do it, right? And so now when it comes to your ibadah, you want to look at people who went to Jannatul Firdaus, as if you could go to them and ask them, how did you do it? Now, you can't really speak to them, they've passed away, but what you can do is look into the Quran. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the ingredients in the Quran on how to model those who are successful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us this is exactly how they do. And so today, inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to give you the ingredients. These are 2 ingredients that if you have this, you'll forever be successful. And if you don't have these ingredients, one or the other, you will not be successful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and this is repeated throughout the Quran again and again. When I tell you, you will say, I've read that before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Illalla aamanu wa amilass, except those who believe and do righteous deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, except those who believe and do righteous deeds. So the 2 ingredients to truly be successful in this life and the hereafter, in your dunya and the akhirah, is iman and amal salih. Is to have iman, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to do righteous deeds after that. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to be talking about the topic of something that's important but not urgent. Important but not urgent. Let me give you a little background on this. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Successful are the believers. So this is another example of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us to model the believers. These are the qualities that they had. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those who had Khushoo in their Salah. Okay, so we've been talking about that in past lectures, about having concentration in one's prayer, and we've been measuring that in our Heartwheel Journal. But then the next verse says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. Those who stay away and avoid vanity or distractions. Now, this is the topic of today. What does it mean to avoid vanity or to avoid distractions? Because this is one of the qualities of the people at the highest level of Jannah, that they didn't waste their life. They didn't waste their time. They didn't just sit around, entertaining themselves, following arts and entertainment, all of this stuff, and leave that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded them to do. They left a legacy. They lived their lives doing good, righteous deeds throughout their lives. And because of that, the people who truly achieve things in this life are those who avoid distractions. Those who avoid distractions. I was once in a conference, and in this conference, someone asked the question, is it permissible to chat with non-mahram women? Or, the opposite. Is it permissible for a woman to chat with non-mahram men on something like, MSN chat or Yahoo chat or Google chat, whatever? Can you sit down and have, how many cyber wives can you have on your MSN chat? Virtual wives. Can you just have sisters on your MSN chat, and can sisters just have brothers, and they're always like, hey Abdullah, how are you going? Hey Fatima, how's it going? And they're going back and forth like that. Is that permissible or not? And I think if you just step back, you will know that there's obviously some haram going on here. People are just opening themselves up and so on and so forth. And my recommendation at this conference was that, if people have virtual wives, or they have virtual husbands, 8 or 10 of them on the MSN buddy list, then they need to break that off. And I said, subhanAllah, almost even like a sign of the haram that might be there is that when you tell them, look, you know what, this is the end, I'm taking you off my buddy list, they'll think like you're breaking up with them. And when they think that, then realize that you know that there was some haram going on and you need to ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I mentioned this, and one of the shuyukh commented on top of that. He said, in fact, even for same genders, to spend their lives like chatting is something that the righteous people in the past used to discourage. Okay, so let me explain. That is someone who has an MSN chat or Yahoo chat or Google chat, whatever it is, and they have people on their list who are the same gender, yet they spend hours and hours and hours talking to them, just chatting. Now, what benefit comes from the chatting? What benefit comes from it? And the answer is, nothing really comes from it. We chat as a default because we don't have anything better to do. So usually when we do have something better to do, let's say, for example, someone says, I'm going to the Al-Maghrib class, I don't have time to chat. So they busy themselves and preoccupy themselves with that, with the seeking of knowledge and so on, and then they don't have time for that chatting. And then after those classes and beneficial things happen, then they go back to the chatting. If you're going to get to the highest level of Jannah, you've got to avoid distractions. You've got to avoid like just vanity and distractions, and you've got to really fill your time with that which is beneficial. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the people of Jannah, highest level of Jannah, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. Sometimes when a person goes on a diet, some of you may have gone on a diet, and in the diet, sometimes there's these really radical diets that basically say that everything you eat, you can't eat it anymore. So you used to eat fish and chips, and you obviously can't eat that anymore. And you used to eat curry with oil in it. No, you're only allowed 1 spoon of oil in a day. And they go through all, there's not a single food that has survived this except apples. And then the thing with apples is they'll say, oh, then the apple has sugar, so you can't eat too many apples, or so and so. So on and so forth. Now, that's with regards to a diet. How about when you're trying to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and get to the highest levels? A lot of our lifestyle is filled with distractions. The lifestyle is full of distractions, and when someone really looks at their lifestyle, so many things in their life they would need to avoid, because this doesn't bring them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, if you imagine this is your bucket, the bucket of your life, and it's full right now with all these distractions, not like you're really achieving something, but it's just full of distractions, and then you take all of these distractions out. Now, what's in your bucket of life? What's in there? There's nothing in there. So if there's nothing in your bucket, naturally, what will you do? As time goes by, you'll just take these things and bring it back into your life. You'll say, I'm bored, what do I do? And then you'll take these distractions and bring them back to your life. So you've got to replace it with beneficial things. So let me give you some suggestions. Let's suppose that you like to chat, right? You love to chat, and you're a really good chatter, and you've got all these buddies. You got 5,000 buddies on this and that, and you're on Facebook, you're on all these different places, okay? And you like to chat. So what I would recommend is, why don't you go on a dawah forum, for example? A dawah forum where you can chat and make friends and help guide people to Islam. You can help guide people to Islam. Let's suppose you're an auntie and you like to sit around and chat with aunties and so on and so forth. And so instead of just sitting around chatting and wasting time, and some aunties coming, some aunties not coming, why don't you sit down and have a Quran halaqah in your house? Invite a speaker to your house that can give a little tafsir, and as the aunties say, they're sitting together and they're studying the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they can have a few refreshments, and this is like they're socializing mixed in with their study of Islam and doing good deeds, and so on. Whatever the distraction is, all one needs to do is just find a way to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the same qualities that they like to do before. In Mecca once, there was like an amusement shop. It had like kind of like video games and so on and so forth. But the person who translated amusement translated it directly from a book, from a dictionary. and he used the exact literal word for the Arabic word lahu, or tarfih, which is distraction. That's the exact translation, and he called it the distraction club. And I laughed at that. I said, what an amazing translation, because that's exactly what entertainment and amusement is. It's distraction. In conclusion, inshallah ta'ala, I want you to imagine the end of your life. You're sitting on your deathbed, and you're looking back at your life, and you're saying, what did I do with my life? And you can reflect on how you're spending your days now, because the end of your life is just going to be an accumulation of these days and how you spend them. And so as you're sitting on your deathbed and your child is asking you, mother or father, how did you spend your life? What advice would you give to them? Would you tell them to spend their lives like you spent your lives? Or would you tell them to not spend their lives the way you spent your life? Okay? So you make this decision, and now if you're going to tell them, spend your life the way I'm spending my life, because alhamdulillah, it's a beautiful journey, then alhamdulillah for you. If you're not going to say that, then now's the day to take your journal, write it out, and start saying, how am I going to change my life so that there's no regrets in the end? Jazakumullah khairan. This is Muhammad AlShareef with the Heart Wheel Journal, and the last 10 nights of Ramadan are coming up, so it's time to buckle down and get a little stronger leading up to the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you still don't have your Heart Wheel Journal, you can get it at islamchannel.tv.